Alrighty, welcome back everybody to part 2 of the Vicious Syndicate card review for Whispers of the Old Gods. Jumping right in, Faceless Shambler, 4 mana, 1/1, taunt, but there's a battle cry, copy of friendly minions, attack, and health. What do you think, Demigod?
The only thought of this would be in probably in handlock deck because it could copy a giant. But for 4 mana 1/1, it's very what if you have nothing to copy? What if it's just a dead card, like a 4 mana 1/1 sitting in your hand? It's very could be very low impact, could be just dead, and I don't like it.
Ginge?
I think it could be good in rear lock and hand lock just because they play so many good stat minions. Yeah, I think that's about it. I think it's a lot better, actually, though, because of the silence nerf. Once again, the silence nerf will help this card out.
And Shimonahi?
It's bad. I don't really think it'll see play. Just doesn't seem. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It just doesn't seem that good to me. I mean, it has to be played in, again, late game decks. It has to be a late game deck because there is no early game deck that could possibly run this card. Because if you have this in your hand on turn 4, if you're playing like an aggressive or even like a mid range deck, you have to play this card. Like you need a 4-drop. You can't possibly play this on a 4-cost 1/1 taunt. Like you can't do that. So it has to be some kind of I don't know. If you are playing this card in hand lock, and you plan on copying like a mountain giant or something, but if your mountain giant usually lives through the turn undamaged to the point where you can copy it with this card, aren't you already in such a good spot that you'd rather just have I don't know, insert different card here?
Yeah,
I agree.
That's a decent point.
That's what I was thinking.
It just seems bad to me.
There's also the thought of I don't know, what if someone tries to copy a Fell Reaver with it, or one of those really bad effects but really good stat type cards.
Again, same thing. If I play Fell Reaver on 5 and I plan on playing this card on 6, which again is super confusing, but if I do plan on doing that, my Fell Reaver has to live a turn. If my Fell Reaver lives a turn and is still in 8/8 and I copy it, I'm probably already gonna win, and I could have just played a 6-drop there instead.
Right.
Yeah.
True.
So I think it's a win.
It's almost impossible to play this card on turn 4.
Alrighty.
Unless I'm like Ancient Watcher, Faceless Shambler. Just play Yeti.
That's pretty much the only. Yeah, you might as well just play a four attack.
Or Tazdingo. If you want the taunt, just play Tazdingo. Anyway, yeah. I think it's bad.
So let's move into these forbidden cards, starting with Forbidden Flame. It's the mage one. Spend all your mana, deal that much damage to a minion. I'm gonna throw my opinion and think it's bad because I feel that strongly about it. But let's go to Shimonahi.
I think it'll probably see play. I don't know exactly the list of mage cards that are getting removed, but I mean, it could just be depending on what the state of Freeze Mage and even Tempo Mage in general are at the end of this expansion. This card seems decent enough to play. I mean, it just seems like a solid card that can fit any curve. Because what does any mage card really do, right? Just removal. It's just standard removal cards. If they you wanted to use this instead of as a fireball, for example, you could just play. If you played 2 of these instead of 2 fireballs, it's kind of the same thing. In a sense, late game wise, yeah, fireball's 4 mana for 4 damage for 6 mana. So I guess that doesn't actually apply to this at all. But I guess it'd be this instead of a pyroblast, right? You could play this instead of pyroblast and Freeze Mage.
I'm usually pyroblast hits face though. This is just minion.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. I don't think you can now.
Wait. Okay, so this card's really bad in Freeze Mage then. So I guess it depends on the. I guess I don't know. I guess it's really bad now. Never mind. I don't know.
I don't even understand. Spend all your mana. Does that mean if you have 5 mana, then you could play this Halaziel guy, and then you play the Forbidden Flame? You have to use. Do you have to use all your mana? I don't even get it.
No, it's whatever mana you have left.
Ah. Okay.
I don't know. I'm not a fan. Maybe it could fit a curve if you're throwing Flamewaker stuff.
No, I don't. It's not. It's bad because mage cards do more damage than they cost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Fireball and Frostbolt aren't getting removed They're normal mage cards.
I was wrong. Remove that. I was wrong. Abort.
Demi?
Yeah,
Like, he's pretty confident about this thing. And Shimona, he came in guns blazing to this card, and then it turned out that he was just wrong about like everything.
Because can you imagine if you could hit face at this card? That'd be crazy.
Oh, then it'd be pretty solid in freeze mage then, because then you're dropping this 0 mana guy to do a bunch of damage. But,
Yeah, I mean, it would be very OP, but it's not that much value for a card. Usually, a lot of mage cards have a lot of value in it, but
Yeah.
nope, not this one.
Alrighty. Well, what about Forbidden Healing? Spend all your mana, restore twice that much health, and it's a paladin card. Shimanahi?
This card's good.
Think so?
I mean, they're removing Healbot, right? So for mid-range Paladin, which I'm assuming will be a thing, because I think Secret Paladin might fall out of favor, but again, it's depending on how the Secret Hold dilemma rolls out. Actually, Secret Paladin will probably still be a thing. But anyway, it's not the point. Either way, they're taking out Healbot, and they're moving more towards each class using their own heal cards, like their own class-specific heal cards. And all other Paladin heal cards are just, like, super garbage. Like, Holy Light is just super bad. I mean, Lay on Hands, I guess, is pretty good, but other than that, like, Guardian of Kings isn't very strong either, just because its stats are so bad. But healing, I mean, Forbidden Healing seems pretty strong for mid-range, because you could have, like, 6 mana, play a Shredder, and then heal for 4 if you need to, or something like that, if you like going down. Or if play a 4-drop and then heal. I don't know. I think it's good. I think it's good.
Okay. Ginge?
I like Forbidden Healing a lot, mostly because it can also target minions, and Paladin is generally a class that likes to control the board. So I think that helps it there. And then all the other heal cards, like Shimona he said, are getting removed, so like Healbot will be gone. So this is some good in-class healing that other classes might not have, and Paladin will have the advantage with. So like this could really put you ahead on board. I like it.
Alright. And Demi?
I like it as well. I mean, I actually am a fan of like Healadin, just like healing up, surviving, removing, and just dropping big minions after that. And I like the control style of Paladin. Actually, I'm a fan of that. So, Guardian of Kings is still gonna exist. Lay on Hands, I hope, still. I don't know if they talked about it or anything, but this card would definitely make Healadin like viable. I believe. Yeah.
Interesting. Alrighty, and then the last forbidden spell that we have been revealed is Forbidden Shaping, the Priest card. Spend all your mana, summon a random minion that costs that much. Demi, what do you think?
I haven't really put a lot of thought into this card, honestly. I guess it would be not that bad because, I mean, priests do tend to spend pretty much all their mana, I guess. I'm not too sure, honestly. I don't really know.
Alright, Ginge, do you have more of an opinion for this one?
Well, unfortunately for this card, it belongs to the Priest class. Priest as a class isn't very good. I'm not sure how this will actually work. I mean, like, it could help you control the board, but you could always just get, like, a huge, like, flop, and then, like, you wasted this card in your deck, and then, I don't know, I feel like this is bad, like, a majority of the time.
Shimona?
Yeah, I'm fairly confident this card sucks pretty bad. Mainly because I essentially can't play this card for 4 or less mana, right? Because like 1 drops, 2 drops, 3 drops, and 4 drops are all garbage if I'm getting it out of this card. I mean, most of the time. Yeah, there's always scenarios where you get the best one in that drop and you're like, oh, I got him. But like for the most part, I feel like it's pretty bad. So like your ideal spot would probably be like 5 or 6 for like most likely to get a good card. And like, or like since your priest use AFK heal the whole time, you'll probably end up playing this for 8 or 10 mana and getting an 8 or a 10 drop. And at that point, you're basically putting it up to chance on which large legendary you put in your deck when you could just play a large legendary instead, which priest doesn't need because they could just entomb it.
All right.
Cap
So,
I don't understand why this is a card, but we'll see. I mean, maybe, who knows? Maybe someone will put 2 of them in, and priest will become the next like unstable unstable portal class or whatever, because it's basically unstable portal. That's what this card
Classic
is.
Lucker class.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Casino
Not that.
priest.
Casino priest. Oh gosh.
Okay, I didn't think about that. I'm mad now. I don't want to see.
Always love it when they have the word random on a card.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's always a fun time. So, something that's not random at all. Giant Sandworm. 8 mana, 8/8. Whenever this minion kills another minion, it may attack again. Whew, I think I know what you guys are gonna say, but okay, all right, Shimonahi. Okay, how you doing?
I love this card.
Really?
I think this card's awesome.
All right.
So I'm more of like a mid-range controlly hunter is like a small dream of mine, because like hunter's one of the only class it's my only class that's not level 60 and one of my 2 classes that isn't gold, because I don't play hunter because I don't like the feel, like the whole way hunters played. Like that's not really how I normally play Hearthstone, so I don't play the class. But this card's mechanic itself, like the ability to just kill everything, is just like the Yu-Gi-Oh card Wild Edge, I think it's called, the Elemental Hero Wild Edge, which I super digged in that game. And I just love the ability just to like drop a card and just like wreak havoc on everything. So I really like this card, and especially depending on what happens to BGH and the state of Hunter after the meta. I think this card will either be really strong or it'll just be another 8 mana card that never sees play outside of Arena.
Ginge.
I have to disagree with Shimonahi here and say that this card is probably bad. I think it's too slow. I think BGH being removed would help it, yes, but I think that if aggro decks are a thing, it's just too slow and it's not worth the value, because even if you get to kill 2 things, the 2 things that you're killing are pretty small, so you just get outvalued and they just hit your face and you die. So I think this card doesn't have potential unless the meta is really, really slow.
Bestial Wrath, just throwing that out there. Think about it.
Okay, that is something to consider.
Oh,
I mean,
oh my gosh.
Huh?
Oh wow.
Talk about a board clear. Am I right or am I right?
Ginge.
Right, I'm not gonna lie, I'm googling Bestial Wrath. I don't know what it does.
We can tell.
It gives your beast +2 attack and immune.
So imagine this thing.
Is it
10
+2 attack and immune?
10 attack,
Yeah.
immune, and like 6
That-
times Wind Fury to just clear
so
the whole
bad.
board, and then hit face.
but
so
it doesn't
bad.
have charge. That's the
Bestial Wrath
problem.
is such a bad card. It's actually insane.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah.
Hunter
I know.
doesn't normally have enough cards to combo out like that, though. Like, you have, like, no draw, unless they are putting in draw. Some sort of draw mechanic.
Starving Buzzard rebuff or unnerf. Alright. Let's hit some legendaries up. We haven't hit too many legendaries. This one, I hear Demigod actually raged off of Skype when he heard about this one. Let's start with your opinion, Demi. How do you feel about Halazil the Ascended? When your spells deal damage, restore that much health to your hero. 4/6, 5 mana Shaman legendary.
I'm gonna surprise you on this one. I think Shaman needed this card. Because...
Oh, God. Now he's role playing. He cried when this card was released. All right, he's lying to you guys.
No, I am not lying. Okay, I first thought it was like, I mean, it is a 5 for 4/6, which is really good actually, but it's kind of insane if we think about it. Like, Shaman needed this kind of card because Shaman lacks heal. I mean, you don't have Healing Wave, but you kind of like lose tempo for Healing Wave, and that's pretty much the only viable healing card in Shaman. I mean, you have Monotide. Is it called Monotide though? No.
Anatide,
No, that's not the heal. That's not the healing one. What is the other one?
Healing Stream.
Healing Totem, I guess.
No, it's
Something.
it's some sort of, it's like the 1 mana. No, it's the 2 mana thing that pops out of Shredder.
Vitality Totem.
There it is.
Vitality. There you. I mean, you have those, class cards, but this is insane because it has a synergy with spell damage, and imagine you drop this. You have like a lightning storm. You storm a big giant board, and you heal by killing each minion. So you could heal for like 15 or something. It's crazy. This card is insane.
Shimona, you look like you have an opinion.
I don't know. Like, its stats are okay. Like, most 5-drops are coming out of the game, so like if someone wants to play mid-range Shaman, they'll probably put this card in their deck, assuming like what what spells they're running in their deck, but it's not like amazing. It's probably okay. I mean, if it does see play when someone plays it, like the opponent's not going to start freaking out and throwing spells at it. But I mean, Shaman has some of the best cards in the game that just can't be utilized because their class is so bad, like Hex and cards like that. So if it gets enough cards to the point where like a mid-range Shaman deck is like actually playable, then I'm sure mid-range Shaman will probably become one of the best decks in the game.
And Demi will rise again.
I'm still rising.
Ginge, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think this card is nuts. I don't think it's terrible. It definitely won't be played in aggro Shaman just because it's so slow. I mean, it could be played in mid-range Shaman, but mid-range Shaman would need a lot more stuff to be actually competitive.
Yep.
What about a control shaman? This worse than that as well.
No.
It doesn't die to elemental destruction.
Yeah, but
And
if you're
you can
playing
use
if you're
for
playing
power.
control shaman, like I don't think you're going to be want to playing this card anyway. Doesn't seem very strong. I mean, shaman's hero power is too bad to play control, so it's irrelevant, isn't it?
I mean, we
It's
don't
always
know.
Sir Finley Murgleton, am I right?
All right, moving on.
Jumping on to another legendary. Harold Volazej. Yeah.
Nailed it.
Nice. 6 mana, 5/5. Battlecry, summon a 1/1 copy of each of your other minions. Someone, what do you think?
This thing has to be bad. I don't think it can be good. 1/1's too easy to clear. There's a lot of cards that will just remove that. And then, like, if you're playing this card on turn 6 and you already have, like, that big of a board control where you're, like, getting a lot of value off this, I'd rather just play a 6-drop that just keeps adding to my board as opposed to, like, doubling my board. Because if I'm already ahead, there's no reason to play a weak drop that creates a board that's easily removed.
Yeah. Shwanahi?
Well, it's a priest card, right? So, I mean, what early priest cards? Okay, so basically, it's only strong with death rattles. Let's just start there. Because if you copy anything other than a death rattle, the card's already bad because you're basically just populating your board with 1/1s. And as a priest, why do you want a bunch of 1/1s? Like, what are you gonna do with those? Run them into something? Like, I don't know. It basically gives your, like, as priest, you basically don't give your opponent a target for your AoE because priest doesn't really usually get AoE'd very hard. They're usually the people AoEing. But this card kind of is like, here, use your AoE cards that have been sitting in your hand the whole game. And then I also define this card as a win more card, which is basically if you end up copying a bunch of cards that like make the card insane, like you have like your board is like Rag, Ysera, I don't know, something else that's awesome, and you play this card, you get a bunch of copies of them, and you're like, oh, I got him. You already won the game because you had Rag and Ysera and whatever else on the board. Like, why is this? I don't know. I personally think it's a horrible card, but other people have been defending the crap out of it, thinking that it's really good. So we'll have to see what else is released because there is a chance this card could be played depending on what comes out.
Do you know what they've been saying to defend it? Like,
yeah,
I mean,
they're basically all the arguments are like, well, what if they print a card that does this? I'm like, okay, yeah, well, what if they print a card that gives priests like infinite power? Yeah. I don't know. Most of their arguments are you have to wait to see what cards come out, which is a fair argument because like you do have to wait and see. So
Yeah.
I mean, if it wasn't a priest card, it might have been pretty interesting as well.
just plays in zoo and troll the hell out of people.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, jeez. Speaking of somewhat bad legendaries, Hager, Doom of Elwyn. Whenever this minion takes damage, summon a 2/2 Null with Taunt. Demi, since we kind of skipped over to you, what do you think?
Pretty much kind of an upgraded Hogger, right? I mean, it is a 7 for 6/6, doesn't get BGH'd, but not too sure about this card, honestly. It could be fun, a fun card, but I don't think it's like a competitive card. That's my opinion.
Ginge?
I agree. It's basically just whenever... It's basically just as a death rattle, that's when it dies, summon a 2/2 taunt, because it's normally not going to take 2 hits, right? I feel like it's just bad. It's too hard for it to get good value.
I don't know. I think it's okay. It'll probably be one of those cards that some people tech in. I don't think it'll ever be like a super stable card, but it could be. Like, it definitely has potential depending on like where the meta ends up going. But I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it'll be a card like Sneeds, where like you'll see it once in a while. It's not the worst card, but it's definitely not the best card. Something like that.
Yeah.
Alrighty. And then jumping into our next card here, we're going to look at N'Zoth the Corruptor. Battlecry, summon all your Death Rattle minions that died this game. And a little bit of background knowledge. It's alright, it's 10 mana 5/7, but it will probably work like anything if more than 6 Death Rattles or more than whatever you have died. It's just going to summon it at random. Unless you guys know any other information, we'll just start with Ginge. What do you think of this card?
Anything doesn't summon them at random.
Wait, does it not?
No, it summons them in order of which they died.
Well, you heard it here first from Shimonahi. That's probably how this will work.
Alright, I'm done. See you guys later.
Goodbye, Shimona.
I think that we'll have to wait and see what Death Rattles come out in this set, because a lot of the good Death Rattles that were already printed are getting rotated out. So I think this card will have to be followed up with some other Death Rattles from this set. And there's a lot of them here, like you've got Polluted Hoarder and stuff like that, but none of them are very good. So I think that unless the rest of the set contains some good ones, this card won't be very good.
What do you think, Demi?
The fact that it costs 10 mana, it kind of turns me off a little bit. A lot of Death Rattles like Belcher. Is Nerubian Egg being removed? Yeah. I mean, I guess you wouldn't even play this card with that kind of deck, because a lot of Death Rattles usually help out in the beginning of the game when you need sustain and you need your board to be I guess you need insurance on your board. And this card, I think it just costs too much for the effect, and it's the attack is not that great. And defense-wise, is fine, but it's competing with other 10 drops, and I don't think it could fit.
I gotcha. Shimona?
Cost too much, stats are pretty bad, and most Death Rattles are bad, so... I mean, Death Rattle as an ability is pretty bad most of the time.
Alrighty.
So it's probably bad, but who knows? They could just release a bunch of good Death Rattles, and all of a sudden this card is the best card, so I don't know.
Well, speaking of N'Zoth, let's take a look at some N'Zoth-related cards. Probably the most adorable card put out there so far, Spawn of N'Zoth. Look at this cute little blue tentacle monster. It's a 3-mana 2/2 Death Rattle Compendant Spirit, basically. Give your minions +1/+1. Ginge, what do you think?
Art is awful. It's 3 mana for a 2/2, and it just dies. And if you're playing this on turn 3, you probably don't have a whole lot of other minions. You're not going to get a lot of value out of it. If you want to bring this thing back with N'Zoth the Corruptor, be my guest. It's still not very good then, because I'm probably not just gonna charge in and kill this thing, right? I'm just gonna pick off your actual threats instead of taking care of this N'Zoth. I think this card is terrible.
Shimona?
Yep.
Cards like Haunted Creeper is not here, so I really don't see the value in this card. 3 for 2/2 is not that good compared to other 3 drops around. So.
Okay. Let's look at Tentacle of N'Zoth, possibly a little bit of a better card to maybe even fuel Patron. It's a 1 mana, 1/1, Death Rattle, deal 1 damage to all minions. What do you think, Shimonahi, our resident Patron player?
I think this card probably has potential. It's kind of like Explosive Sheep, but Explosive Sheep isn't played very often, so I could see this card also not being played very often. Maybe in Patron Warrior, but I think without Deathbite, Patron Warrior is going to be really hard to keep alive, because although this card does also give out the Whirlwind effect, it's not really the same, because now you need at least 7 mana to make a regular board of Patrons instead of 5. So I don't know.
That is pretty bad.
It doesn't seem very strong to me, but because if you're playing a deck where you're trying to stop your opponent from having an early board and just stall out, you would just play Explosive Sheep over this card, unless Explosive Sheep is getting dropped. Then maybe this card
sounds like the kind of card that will get dropped by GVG.
I think it is.
Ginge, what do you think of this card?
This card's only playable for Explosive Sheep is getting rotated.
Yep.
I don't even think it'll be very played if Explosive Sheep is rotated, because Explosive Sheep barely got played. Like, it got played occasionally in Freeze Mage, but that was only because it did 2 damage. And Explosive Sheep is in fact getting rotated, which helps this card case for sure. But I don't think that dealing 1 damage is even close to the same as doing 2 damage. And if you look at this set's stats on a lot of the minions, like, a decent amount of them have like 2 to 3 health. So like, it's not like this thing just comes onto the board and wipes the board clean. Like, it just comes on and does nothing. And then like, people talk about this in Patron Warrior, but I think without Deathbite, Patron is just dead. So I think this card won't have a spot in any decks.
Okay. Demi?
Yeah, I think this card came in a little bit late, to be honest. Just no muster for battle to clear off. A lot of these annoying 1/1s that are running around right now is like Haunted Creeper as well. You can't really get too much value off this 1/1.
Alright, well, speaking of 1/1s, let's talk about Stand Against Darkness. A very outspokenly bad card. Shimonahi, what do you think?
I mean, it's okay, I guess. I don't know exactly what the state of Paladin's going to be, but like without muster and that kind of thing, this card could be okay. Again, the 5-drop slot's kind of up for grabs. Maybe you just, like, against control decks, if you're playing against literally any control deck and you're playing mid-range Paladin, you just slam this and drop Quartermaster, and then your opponent just leaves the game, right?
I think Quartermaster just getting rotated.
I don't know, is it?
It is.
Yeah.
Oh god. Damn it.
I don't know.
I think this card's literally terrible.
This card's probably really bad then, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think this card's awful.
Demi, do you agree with Ginger's awful
I
comment?
agree. I think it could be good in arena though.
Oh, okay. Alright.
Maybe, yeah.
That's pretty much the only thing.
That makes sense. Well, let's look at another outspokenly awful card. Polluted Hoarder. It is a 4-mana, 4/2 Death Rattle draw card. Anyone who thinks it has potential, raise your hand. Shimonahi, was that a hand raise?
I mean, like, what is it? It's a 4 mana?
4-mana,
4-mana, 4/2.
draw card. It's like Loot Hoarder times 2.
It's
Why
bad.
was this card made?
I don't know.
What?
It was just a loot
Yeah.
hoarder that got corrupted, man. Don't go blaming him.
Yeah. Alright, well,
I mean,
let's skip over that one.
You should have never got corrupted in the first place.
If no one
Yeah.
seems to have anything nice to say about it, so I guess we shouldn't say anything. Let's go to Nazoth's First Mate. Battlecry, equip a 1/3 Rusty Hook. It's a 1-mana 1/1 warrior card. Demigod?
It's like what is that word card called? Upgrade, right?
Yeah.
I'm not too sure. It's a 1/1, so it trades with it trades with like Leprechaun and organs. It's probably used for anti-aggro, right? But Warrior already has a lot of anti-aggro cards in the first place. Like, if you play this on turn 1, and then you have like a War Axe, I mean, I guess this will trade into their other early game minion, but what do you do with the hook? Like, it's kind of useless, in my opinion.
Yeah. Ginge?
Completely disagree. If there's a lot of aggro in the new format, I think this card will be great. It can kill 1/1s with just the weapon, which keeps the 1/1 body on board. I think that it can just trade into Peddler, and then the weapon can take care of the Peddler, and you still have your weapon to clear on more things. I think that is a lot of potential if a lot of the decks are aggro. If you're playing a lot of Warrior Mirrors or something like that, then this Enzoth probably won't have a place just because it's so terrible in that kind of format. But I think it definitely has potential.
Shimonahi, any concluding thoughts about this card?
When I first saw this card, I thought it was a death rattle. So I thought it was like the worst card ever, and I couldn't figure out why everyone kept defending the card. But then I realized because it's called Nazoth's First Mate, which Nazoth is a death rattle card, so I figured it was a death rattle card. So Blizzard trolled me pretty hard, but I guess it's a battle cry, so it's pretty good. Because again, if there's like a lot of aggro, you can just kill 1/1s and 3/2s. Like for the first 2 or 3 turns, you can control the whole board with just this 1-mana card, and then you can just sit there and AFK and armor up. And I don't know,
Okay.
probably a one of.
Well, let's take a look at Another warrior card that a lot more people have said is bad. Tentacles for Arms. 5 mana, 2 attack weapon with 2 durability. Death Rattle, return this to your hand. What do you think, Ginge?
When I first saw this card, I thought it was terrible. But I've actually changed my mind. I think it could be playable. If there's a lot of Control Warrior mirrors, then this thing can just sit there and poke their face every turn so that you win the Fatigue War. So it's 2 guaranteed damage. The problems that I see it having are that you can't really replace it with a weapon because it will just go back to your hand, which makes it hard to play cards so you don't overdraw. But other than that, I think it's really solid in Warrior Mirror. And then even though it's 5 mana, it could be like a decent weapon against aggro because it's kind of slow. But if you can clear the board and then drop this, it like still helps you clear the board for 2 more turns, and then just goes back to your hand. So I think it's not as bad as people think.
Okay, Demigod?
Kind of agree with Ginge, but the stats are pretty bad. I mean, 5 mana for 2/2. I mean, it does get returned, so you have like an unlimited tentacles for arms. But, I think it's not that great overall. Probably a 4 out of 10.
4 out of 10, probably wouldn't recommend. Shimanahi?
Nope.
I'm pretty sure it's bad. I don't think it'll see play at all. Controller has always been one of those archetypes that whenever a card, like, cards go in and cards go out, like a card gets a nerf, they just replace it with a different card. I feel like any card that gets rotated out of Control Warrior will have a better slot than this card. I don't know. I think I'd rather just play a 5-drop that did something defensive than play this.
Okay. Well, let's talk about this new neutral legendary. One that I actually thought was a troll because of the name. The 8 mana, 6/7, the Boogie Monster. Just legit, the Boogie Monster. Whenever this minion attacks and kills another minion, gain +2/+2. What do you think, Shimoni? You think it has a place in the world?
No, it's just bad. It's just a regular neutral legendary that has a regular effect, just like what's that called? Faux Reaper.
Yeah,
It's a card just like that. It's just a card that has stats that costs mana that does stuff. It will never be played. It's bad.
Yep, I agree.
Demi?
They gotta stop making cards like this. It's very uninteresting.
It's just a filler card. That's all. Like they have to add filler cards to the expansion. It's just a filler card to troll with and have fun. But it's definitely not a competitive card.
Alrighty. Well, what are you thinking of this? Do you think this is going to be a filler card? The Validated Doomsayer. He's been telling us the Doom was coming, and apparently it did. And he's a 5 mana, 0/7, but at the start of your turn, you set his attack to 7. What do you think, Ginge?
This card's bad. I think that the silence helps it, or the silence nerf helps it, because they can't just silence it. If the silence nerf doesn't happen, this thing's even worse than it already is. I think that if you're behind on board and you play this, you just get rolled because they just clear it for free and they keep their whole board. But yeah, that's my opinion.
Shimona?
Yeah, I mean, its weakness is like, if you play it on turn 5, like if you do a good job of controlling the board early game and you play this on, like, you have one minion and you play this and they have an empty board, then this card's nuts, right? Because then they can't do anything to it really on their turn unless they have a silence, but depending on what they do with silence, then that kind of changes that. And then once it's your turn, now all of a sudden you have a 7/7 on turn 6 that can already attack. So yeah, it's pretty crazy if that happens, but at the same time, as Jin said, like, you're playing against a Zoo player who, like, turn 1 Flame Imp, turn 2 Knife Jugglers or whatever, they have just like a board like that the whole game, then it's obviously just going to die for free. It's just basically a pseudo taunt, a 0/7 pseudo taunt, and that's bad. So it's probably not playable, but who knows? Maybe someone will figure out some sneaky way to stealth this for a turn.
All right. And Demigod?
If Ramp Druid is a thing, I kind of like it actually. Like, you innervate this out, and then you have, hopefully you're controlling the board, right? Depends what's happening, right? But if you can actually get a break and this comes out and it survives, I mean, they do have to spend their turn attacking this thing. So, I mean, if you are already controlling the board, which is kind of likely with Druid, you have like Living Roots and like all these other cards. I think this actually could be used like in an innervate sense. Like, I mean, dropping out 5 is not that bad as well. It depends what position you're in, obviously.
Right.
Yeah, I could actually see that. I didn't think of that.
Alrighty. Now let's jump into the rogue class as we're wrapping up. Undercity Huckster, interesting name. Death Rattle, add a random class card to your hand from your opponent's class, and it's just a 2-mana 2/2. Ginge, what do you think?
You know, a lot of people talked about this card when it first came out, but I don't think it's very good. Rogue is in a class right now that tries to just curve out. It tries to just beat your opponents with spells. So I think that just daggering on turn 2 is probably better than playing Undercity Huckster, especially if you don't have it on turn 2. Like, if you have to drop this thing later in the game, it gets even worse. So I think it's bad.
Shimona?
I mean, this feeds more towards the Raptor archetype. If it's obviously it does not have a place in regular Rogue, like Oil or whatnot. I guess not Oil, but like Miracle and stuff. It doesn't have a spot in those decks, and it never will. But it does have a spot, and actually a pretty dominant spot in Raptor Rogue. So depending on how powerful Raptor Rogue becomes, this card could actually become really good.
Yeah, it's sad because Raptor Rogue gets hit hard because all the Death Rattles are leaving. But hey, if there's more specific Rogue Death Rattles like this one.
Because like if I play this on turn 2 and I'm playing Raptor Rogue, my opponent has to kill it. Like, even if like whether or not he knows I have Raptor, if I play this card and he doesn't kill it, then he's just gonna get rolled, right? Because I'm just gonna like value train up a Storm and just run him over.
Yeah.
Unless I just get, I mean, at the same time it's random, so I could just get like two freaking
Too bad cards.
two like buff, give your totems +2 health or whatever cards, right?
I mean,
But I don't know.
Devin,
I think it's
what
cool.
do you think?
I like it. I think like you said, it could be good in Raptor Rogue, maybe other type of Rogue, but I think it's a card that has a lot of value in, like Bad Scientist. It reminds me of Mad Scientist in a way.
This card is way worse than Mad Scientist.
I mean, come on, man. It's like almost
Dude,
the
the card
same.
is so bad, it's unbelievable.
You're actually kidding me, right?
Undercity
Oh,
Huckster is so bad.
Okay,
Raptor Rogue will never be a thing. It wasn't even a thing when you had the eggs, and now the egg is gone. This thing,
Sure.
Raptor Rogue will be so bad.
I honestly don't.
All I'm saying is that if Raptor Rogue was a thing, it could be strong. But without Raptor Rogue, it has no spot.
I mean,
Well,
it's
let's
still
jump into
good.
another Death Rattle here. With Exarl Poison Mine. Zarl Poison Mind. Battlecry and Death Rattle, add a random toxin card to your hand. And the toxins are, let's see, so there's Blood Thistle Toxin, which will return a friendly minion to your hand. It costs 2 less. What do you guys think of that toxin? Let's just go toxin at a time. You think that's decent, yay or nay?
I think that's definitely decent.
What does this do?
Return a friendly minion to your hand. It costs 2 less. It's like a Shadow Step.
I mean, I've seen a lot of people say like Miracle Rogue hype.
Alright, Shimonahi, do you like this specific? I mean, let's just go on the list. Like, I'm gonna say the card, and you're just gonna say yes or no. And then we'll discuss. We'll discuss.
I mean, they're all good. The card itself is good. Like all of the cards that get off it are worth more than 1 mana. So
okay, yeah.
I agree.
The card has a spot in every single variation of Rogue, and I can't imagine it not being played because it gives you too much versatility.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you think it's worth the 3/2 body for 4 mana?
Absolutely.
Yep. Rogue doesn't care about their bodies. Not a single card in Rogue has a strong body if you think about it. Not only Edwin, and even that card, like most of the time, is like a 4/4, maybe a 6/6 at the best.
Like, you just try to beat them with combos and spells, right? And this helps you do that. It works well with a lot of things. Like, it works well with Teacher, Auctioneer, Edwin. Like, it just has a lot of.
And it's a Battlecry and Death Rattle, dude. So Raptor Rogue.
Oh my god, get out of here!
Raptor.
Rogue is terrible, dude.
I'm kidding. Relax.
Come on, you'll see. You'll see.
Alrighty. Well, now moving on to, I believe, just the final card that has been announced so far, and I've been saving it for last because I think it has a little bit of discussion with it. Renounce Darkness. You throw this into your Warlock deck, and it says replace your Hero Power and Warlock cards with another classes. The card costs 1 less. It is a 2 mana card. Let's start with Shimonahi.
I hate this card. I hate this card and everything about it. This card is the worst possible thing they could print for this game, and I have no idea why they would even think about printing this card.
I agree.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
I wish it wasn't printed.
It's super frustrating, and I hate it. And it literally makes me want to just uninstall the game. That's how mad I was when I saw this card.
Wow. Jeez. Ginge, sound like you agreed there?
I wish this card wasn't printed. I don't even want to have to figure out whether this thing is going to be playable. You know, it looks like it's not going to be playable, but this is just another extremely random card that I don't think should be in the game.
Like,
I think it's just horrible.
Warlock already has a reset. It's called Jiraxis. Like, they don't need some card that, like, if I wanted to replace my hero power and all my cards in my deck at random, I would just play a different class.
So wait, you're telling me this thing can turn into a druid? Like,
Yeah,
dude. I'm just like, I'm sitting there playing. I'm like, what, turn 2?
You can literally
I'm
go
a
turn
druid.
2. You know what? Screw it. I'm gone. Goodbye.
Alakazam, just turn into a druid, dude. Call it.
dude, that's super unhealthy, dude. Like,
Yeah. Does it change cards that are on the board already? Like if I already have like a Flame Imp on the board and then I renounce Darkness, does that thing just like up and leave?
No,
And transform into something else?
I'm sure things on the board
I've
will
had
say.
enough.
I'm
Mom,
just
So-
like, all right, I'm out of here, dude. Goodbye.
so everyone is gonna play Warlock in their lineup now, and then they're like, "Oh, I'm a druid instead."
So they got role play as a druid halfway through the game.
Yeah, they just play very neutral cards, and they play a lot of class cards. They can
Wait,
even
do
play-
I get to pick what class I turn into?
I don't think so.
Because it
I
doesn't
don't-
say it doesn't say random, so I get a pick.
It would make sense if this was at least Discover, but it's not. So it's super confusing.
I think this card is actually really bad too, because it gives you like random cards.
Yeah, it could just
Like-
give you like a bunch of living roots, just straight 20 living roots. I'm like, GG, good job.
I don't know. Maybe. Oh my god, I'm not sure. It's a weird card.
Yeah.
Like, I guess you're warlocking, disguise yourself as like a rogue. It's so weird. It's pretty fun though. It's a fun card. Like, it's a
Yeah.
fun.
It looks like
I like-
fun. It looks like something that you would bet your friends. Like you wouldn't queue that in in Legend or something like that. Like you wouldn't
Yeah.
do that.
I'm kind of torn. I'm not happy it's made, but it's still a fun card for like plebs to use. So
Plebs.
I'm
Like-
like,
You're pouring
right
salt
now,
on
God.
yourself, Shimonahi?
Yep.
Alright. Well, the salt shaker has shook. Alrighty, well that's all the cards that have been announced so far for Whispers of the Old Gods. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time with the second, or third part rather, of this card review. See you everybody, have a wonderful night.